Good morning, folks. Today is September the 27th. It is a Monday. Ted and I just got done taking ear samples out of an observation plot, which now we'll take back and we'll break apart. We'll take both cross-section pictures to see the number of rows around it, as well as the full ear pictures. We are wrapping up the harvest year for corn. Today we're in central Kansas, but this is happening, of course, across the Corn Belt, depending on how far along everyone's individual corn crop is. Well, this one's getting real close. As Ted and I are standing here, the cooperator is harvesting his rows essentially in an adjacent field just to the west of us. So we know it's very close that the research company will come over and harvest this section of the plot here very soon as well. Again, just as a reminder, this was planted, I believe, on April the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. And so we have 50 hybrids in this particular plot. Today's topic, how far along, what's black layer, when to harvest, that kind of thing. Essentially what we're looking from a grain moisture standpoint is we'd like to see 18 or below on harvest moisture for corn. Some folks like to take it down to where they know it's good and dry, and and maybe if anything they'd have to blow a little air on it. Most folks don't really want to put any buy any propane or heated air of any sort, whatever the source of heat is. Obviously that runs into some expense. So today we just thought we'd grab a random ear. Obviously it's mature. We've gone all through the physiological stages in the life of a corn plant, and now we're finally at its very end and it's ready to harvest. Just by looking at some of the ear samples in here, I suspect that we're probably somewhere between 13 and 16%, depending on the maturity of the corn hybrid. So I'm going to break this particular ear apart. Before I do that, I'm just going to count the rows on it lengthwise. Okay, 43 kernels long in the row. And now to break it apart, and of course you can see how dry it was. I just shucked the end of that corn off. So black layer or husk death, and of course all the husks are completely dead here. And of course the end of that is so hard, and there's the black layer. I just pulled it out, and I don't know if you could see that, but it came right out of the end of that. And a simple black layer means it's completely physiological mature, and it's been into grain dry down phase here. So clearly, I don't know if you can see that. I can move that over there. That gives you a better picture. But on the end of that, I pulled the germ straight out of there. And essentially on the end of that kernel where it goes into the ear, when that black layers, it means that all the cell layers on that end have compressed together, causing the discoloration. In fact, essentially the sealing of that kernel, so that there's no more nutrients, moisture coming in out of the cob through the plant and back up through that individual ear and the individual kernel. So that means that it's done. So I suspect we will have data on this plot over the next couple of weeks, and I haven't made any estimates, but the top should roll somewhere around 240-50 bushel to the acre, I'm guessing. This plot did take a considerable amount of stress, had some hail in the beginning of the year, but not a lot. I think it was within that 10-15% hail damage mark. It continued to grow and do well. There was a little bit of stress during pollination, but not drastic. And then there was a fair amount of rust at the end of the year. But when it's all said and done, the corn plants are standing. They look relatively happy yet. And so now we're getting to the point of harvest. So we're looking forward to the data. And with that, folks, Ted and I are signing out, and we look forward to seeing you next time down the road.